Hey there, today at Tiger Drop Films, I'm going to discuss how to make the perfect Godzilla game, or at least my ideas of how to approach it. Now, obviously, I am not a video game developer, but on a platform like YouTube, why not share some ideas and hopefully, get the brain stewing around fans and how to approach a Godzilla game. Because, the last game we had was this. And while it may have been an accurate Godzilla experience, was it a good game? Well, the public certainly didn't think so. Now, I believe it is possible to make a great Godzilla game. Some might think it's impossible, but well, the impossible just hasn't been done yet. So I have three basic ideas on how to approach a Godzilla game. The first being identity, player enjoyment, and stability. By identity, I mean having a good direction in the game and not jeopardizing any of the things that people love about the Godzilla franchise. Like, for instance, if you look at a lot of mainstream video game franchises, they go really up and down on what they want to be. And yes, the Godzilla film series has certainly gone through different takes, but at the end of the day, they're all what Godzilla can be. That's different things. So we should just adapt Godzilla into a video game format, and yes, take some creative liberties, of course. Any fictional character that got adapted into a video game has, video gamey qualities to them because it's just the medium. Everyone's going to have their own hyper fictional takes on these characters. So, by identity, a Godzilla game would need a good director in it. Think about Sefton Hill, who directed the Batman Arkham series. And, those games are really focused and giving the player a solid experience that is captivating as it is engaging. And a Godzilla story in a game should be like that too. Yes, and that includes the human factor, because any Godzilla story is going to have humans in it. If you think it won't, then that's just silly. Like, think about the 2005 Peter Jackson King Kong game. In that game, he played as Jack and Kong himself. And it was really engaging, especially for the time it came out in. Now imagine a decently AAA Godzilla game with that kind of engaging story. Being able to see Godzilla from a human perspective could be really awe-inspiring and could really sell the narrative they're trying to create. Think about Return of Godzilla. When Goro Maki's in the skyscraper and he sees Godzilla fighting the Super X across the street, it's so awe-inspiring and it's intense as it is, a sight to behold. Recently in Japan, there was a game called City Shrouded in Shadow, which had a lot of licensed characters like Godzilla, and they kind of captured that feeling. If maybe that game had a few more years of development, it could have been something that was brought over to the West and was a big hit. But sadly, it wasn't. But there's innovation there in potential. So what I'm saying by identity is a Godzilla game should know what it wants to be, know what to deliver, and not, overthink or try to be something it's not supposed to be. Part 2, player enjoyment. Now this might in fact be the most important part, but if a player isn't enjoying a game, they're going to put it down. It's like if you're watching something on Hulu and it's just not working for you, you're going to click to something else. It's human nature to get disengaged or something boring. So a Godzilla game should keep them captivated and want to do more and want to see what else they can do in this game. Because, the writing's on the wall. What other game are you able to play as a monster, as Godzilla? None. Something new in the market, create that demand and supply it to the people, and you'll make money as well as creating a good reputation. Because there are developers out there that could handle a Godzilla game, It's kind of like how Sony found Insomniac to do their Spider-Man game, and now they're doing a Wolverine game, Just find that studio that can give you that bread and butter. getting to the gameplay part of player enjoyment, it should be easy to get into, but still have enough of a challenge for players that really want to play the game. Like, for instance, if it was a fighting game, right, for Godzilla, obviously have a great selection of characters, but combat that isn't stale or isn't trying to, be hard for the sake of being hard. Actually, there's this part in Godzilla Save the Earth, I know you guys know this one, where if you're playing campaign as Godzilla, there's a part where it's kind of like the camera's behind his back, right? And there's a cursor where you can shoot your atomic breath and you can move Godzilla wherever you want him to go. I think right there is a great starting off point to create a Godzilla experience. Even the PS4 game kind of had that going. Just take the idea of controlling Godzilla, what inputs he can do. You get to be Godzilla. That's the whole point. And if you can just nail that part down, then you can start worrying about other characters, right? I personally think the best way to go is just a single Godzilla experience with a human side to it. Kids love Godzilla, older fans, new fans, casual gamers, and film enjoyers. If you create a Godzilla game that really knows what to do and not to sell the character short, it's a moneymaker waiting to happen. But not only that, something that Toho could use to really, bring different generations of fans together. You can, I would say, create a whole new Godzilla for the game, kind of like how the Arkham series had their own Batman, and then let people unlock other Godzillas. Like I would love to have Showa Godzilla. Good friends of mine would love to have Heisei in the game. And of course, make Monsterverse, Shin, Ultima, the Godzilla that fought Charles Barkley, all of them, make them playable. And people will fall in love with the game. Of course, that's easier said than done. Because if you just, make a quick Godzilla simulator, I don't think it's going to work. You have to really create something that doesn't, just make it stand apart. Like, I personally would say don't go open world, more so go linear, but like have open spaces, right? Like have a Tokyo level, but of course if the player wants to, they can branch off and start wrecking shit, because, we're all gonna do that, you know, I will. And then of course have like monster fights and all kinds of just different, alien invasions you can fight off, SDF. You can fight off these like futuristic creations by mankind. Like obviously, you got your Mecha Godzilla, you got your fucking Dimension Tides. There's a lot of fun to be had of creating a Godzilla game. And my next part of the player enjoyment part is this: let Godzilla be invincible to humanity, but they can still harm Godzilla. Now, what I mean is, don't let like the military take off Godzilla's health. No, 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 no. Instead, let them impede the player's progress throughout the mission. I thought about it this way: the military can stun Godzilla, right? That can really, yeah, it'll probably make the player a little pissed off, but that's help make him get into the mood of Godzilla even more. Because you've seen how Godzilla acts when he and Randy fights back. Even if they just annoy him, he's like, it's game on. So I would say let the military stun Godzilla, drain his atomic breath, which we'll get to atomic breath in a minute, and maybe blind Godzilla, right, a little bit. And obviously we can have things in the game like a little like icon that pops up when this attack isn't coming, so the player can quickly defend against it. But if they don't, then they have to suffer from being paralyzed for a second, losing atomic breath, and being blinded by the military. And now, yes, on paper it might get annoying, but you gotta create some kind of challenge in the game and reward for overcoming this adversity. Because even if you just look at the Heisei films with the Super X's, the Mazers, and all kinds of interesting technology, if you adapt that into a game and make them noticeable to the player and really pose a different kind of threat that is not life threatening, then you can really make the player still feel empowered as Godzilla, but know that in order to complete these objectives, you still need to bunker down, and you can't just turn your brain off. Um, Now, when it comes to, I guess, boss battles, because everybody wants those kaiju fights. Why are you even here? But that can be when Godzilla loses his health, and it can really, make the stakes higher. Like, oh shit, Megalon's gonna, kick me in the balls. I better get ready and fight against them. Stuff like that. And that is when the gameplay can switch from Godzilla marching, is what I would call it, marching, fighting military, to combat. And let Godzilla just really, the player attack these monsters and have a good story reason for it to be there. Like if you look at, a film like Biollante or the original Mothra vs. Godzilla, there's a story behind there. And, you kind of want Godzilla to lose in those. So you can also have a bit of a story part where maybe the player can be a more antagonistic Godzilla or maybe more heroic Godzilla, and that can add replay value. Yeah, that's great, right? Replay value. Yeah. Um, there's a lot you can do with approaching a Godzilla game, narratively, gameplay wise, and even just nailing different mythos. And the point of having the masers there and all kinds of different parts of the Godzilla mythos, it's not. I wouldn't say it's for fan service. I would say they go back to like the Arkham analogy. It's there to add richness to the gameplay and something that new people can learn about. Like, say there is the red bamboo, right, or a G-force base. New people would be like, "Hey, what is that?" Right? But fans will be like, "Oh, I know that place." Now, if there was another part I would like to talk about, it would be Godzilla's movement. Personally, I think the PS4 game did this pretty well, technically. I would say yes, let Godzilla walk slowly. Now, what I mean is, give the player a stamina meter, because a big guy like Godzilla hauling around all that muscle, he can't just be an Olympic runner all the time. So I would say let the player use the X button for let the player walk, then hit X to sprint a little bit. Because Godzilla running, it's not silly. There's more goofy things you could do, but him running, who cares, right? Let Godzilla run when the player wants him to. And just really nail on Godzilla being heavy, but also being able to fight back with his own finesse. And that also brings me into swimming. I believe they should let the player swim as Godzilla. It's kind of like how Batman, you expect him to glide around the map. So I would expect Godzilla to be able to swim in a game. They go back to Save the Earth. Remember the Ebra level where you fight the giant shrimp? Yeah, it was a change of pace in the game and a welcome one, I might add. So I think having Godzilla fight, battleships, Manda, Titanosaurus, you name it, in the ocean could create a really nice change of pace. And, besides having human characters in the game and Godzilla can have this third point of gameplay, and that's swimming. And I think that could really be a way to set the game apart and show a different side of the Godzilla. Honestly, we don't even see Godzilla fight underwater a lot in the movies. So if a game gave you that experience, you can see a different side to Godzilla. And, like I said earlier, picking your different versions of Godzilla, like Showa or 2000, and have them have underwater fights against the characters in the game would be really cool and even more replay ability. So I suppose one of the last points of player enjoyment I would like to discuss would be atomic breath. So I think it's an aspect of Godzilla games they do get right generally, but in a game like a AAA Godzilla game, you would have to nail it. So like I said, Save the Earth. In campaign, there's like a cursor and you can kind of aim where Godzilla shoots his atomic breath. If you played that UFO level where you have to defend the pyramid building, like you can actually lock on to stuff and then shoot your atomic breath. It's really cool, and I'm surprised the game in like 2004 had that for Godzilla. But if you can kind of work on that, let the player control Godzilla, you aim the atomic breath, you shoot it, you can get upgrades for it, like, you shoot the rings, you can shoot the red atomic breath, vapor, whatever you want. Like the PS4 game even had that going off, different atomic breaths and an upgrade skill tree kind of thing. So there's a lot to be done with, Godzilla, his movement, his strength, how much damage he can take, and his atomic breath. You can really narrow in all those ideas and make something really great. And that's why I think they should just focus on a single player Godzilla game. Because if you can nail all that, then you can start working on adding other characters playable. Just keep it simple, keep the identity, but keep it fun and a little challenging. So for the third point, stability, all I mean is just don't make it hard it needs to be when creating the game. Keep a decent art style. Maybe don't go for the hyper realism. Let buildings be destructible. Don't do any stupid things like microtransactions. Just keep the game stable. People will flock to the game and they'll tell their friends about it, but stable. You don't want a game that's glitchy, crashing, or just looks terrible. Not in this day and age. No. The studios don't want that. Toho doesn't want a game that looks ugly. They want a game that makes them money. So yeah, just keep it stable, stability. Don't do anything like an open world. That's why I don't want an open world, because if you have to render all of that, like all of Tokyo or Fukuoka or Osaka from Godzilla's perspective, that's just gonna get really, performance issues for anyone, especially on console, might really get jittery. So just keep it linear, but pretty big levels for Godzilla to go through. And when I brought up the swimming sections earlier, if the game is really glitchy and not well oiled, then yeah, swimming as Godzilla is going to be a nightmare. But yeah, I would say keep it simple, keep it focused, keep the identity, player enjoyment, and stability. Those are the big key things I would say. Then you can start adding the other nuggets of finesse and details to Godzilla. But yeah, that's pretty much the big 3 points I would say in crafting a Godzilla game. Believe me, there's a lot more we could talk about. But I think just keeping it simple with those 3 pillars, that you could really create a Godzilla game that can knock it out of the park and make even better sequels. So, thank you guys for watching Tiger Trap Films. Godzilla against Mechagodzilla is coming to theaters on the 3rd, and there's going to be a video about that. Oh yeah, it's a great one. That's a damn good movie. So thank you guys for watching. Hit the like and subscribe, and please let me know what kind of Godzilla games you want in the comments below. Godzilla!